Original story. I do not know what to say to her. I posted this on another Reddit and it got taken down for the predatory nature of my daughter's relationship. I was told to try this sub and one other one. Here is the background. Hello. I am looking for a younger person's perspective on this matter. I know my son frequents this site, so we thought this might be the place to get it. My daughter is a 21-year-old female. Her fiancé is 36. She just graduated college and moved out on her own this past fall. My wife and I are 58 and 55 years old, respectively. We also have 2 sons. When my children were young, we had a close family friend who died tragically in 2001, leaving behind a 16-year-old. We took him into our home for over 4 years while he finished school and he was able to stand on his own. We gave him a substantial monetary donation to start his own business, which has since become wildly successful. I never minded any of this one bit because I always saw him as one of my own children. He is now 36 years old. This past Sunday we had a family dinner, at which time my daughter decided to inform us that not only were they engaged, they had also been seeing each other for the past 3 years. My wife, sons and I all feel incredibly betrayed and blindsided by this revelation. The amount of lies and secret keeping they had to be telling to keep this relationship from us is astonishing. The large age difference is also very disturbing to us. I told both of them in no uncertain terms that I did not approve of this relationship, that he was no longer allowed in my home and as long as my daughter continued this relationship, nor was she. I now see that alienating my daughter would cause more harm. I want to be there for her, but I do not want her to think I'm accepting of this relationship and want it to end immediately. I am disgusted and angered by my daughter's relationship I just recently found out about. However, I do not want to alienate my daughter and put her in more danger. How can I talk to her and make her realize this relationship is dangerous, predatory, and disturbing, while still making her feel safe and welcome? Also, in case this wasn't clear enough, yes, he helped raise her. He babysat her, changed her diapers, came to family dinners every week, went on family vacations, etc. He was a constant part of her life since she was 1. First update. Hello everyone. I would first and foremost like to thank everyone who gave helpful words of advice and encouragement on my first post, which can be found here. I apologize for not being able to respond to all comments and messages, but my wife and I read through them all. We very much appreciate getting unbiased opinions from a demographic we normally would not. Yesterday, we went to my daughter's apartment, because we know Jackson works all day Saturdays. I first apologized to her over my initial reaction that came out of anger. I made it clear that her safety and well-being was my first concern. We had a long discussion, and there were some things that my daughter said that alarmed me. These aren't necessarily in the order of which we discussed them, just things that stick out in my head. The first thing was that she said she knew he loved him since she was 14, at which point Jackson was 29. She says that they never did anything intimate until she was after 18. However, since their engagement has now become public, concerned family members have contacted me with events that seemed innocent at the time, but now seem suspicious. For example, my wife's sister told us about a time when the kids, my daughter, one of my 2 sons, and Jackson, were over her house. My daughter was 16, and Jackson was 31. My sister-in-law said that she heard Jackson leaving my daughter's room in the morning. At the time she didn't think much of it because there have been times where the siblings or cousins have fallen asleep in each other's rooms after watching a movie late at night or something. My son also told me about a time when he had run into my daughter in town, when she was 15, with Jackson when she was supposed to be in school. There are other instances I had to delete for length reasons. We asked her what it was she loved about him. She gave us a bunch of reasons, but one of the things that I think is alarming is she said how generous and caring he has always been to her. She told us about all of the extra things he would give to her, for example for her birthday or holidays, apart from the rest of the family. She doesn't think this is anything suspicious, because he said that the reason he was giving her the additional gifts was because she was always overshadowed by her brothers, and she deserved extra attention that she didn't get from her mother and I. My daughter told us that the decision to keep the relationship a secret was mutual. They thought that if her mother and I found out about the relationship, we would stop paying for her apartment and school tuition. And she is now graduated. She said they did not tell her friends, because they didn't think it was right to ask them to lie to us as well. His friends were aware of the relationship. My wife asked if she had felt bad or guilty about all the lying they had to do to keep the relationship a secret. We were having weekly dinners for 3 years when they had been dating while they sat across the table from us pretending they weren't. Our daughter had even made up boys she told us she had been dating at college. A few times she had posted photos of herself with a male friend and had told us that was a man she was dating. She said that she felt guilty about lying, but Jackson had told her that it would be worth it in the long run. I introduced the idea of family therapy. She said that she did not need it. I told her that she was always welcome into our home, though Jackson is not. She would like Jackson and I to speak, but I do not think that is a wise idea right now. I appreciate any input on this situation. Thank you. Adding additional worrisome incidents that I put in a comment. Her niece, who is her age, has told us that there were times when my wife and I would go out and Jackson would come over to hang out with them. She recalled multiple times when my daughter and Jackson would cuddle on the couch together, under blankets, etc. This behavior never happened when my wife and I were home. There were times when my daughter had get-togethers at our house when we were out of town and Jackson would supply them with alcohol. My middle son, whose bedroom is the only one downstairs, had heard Jackson leaving our house late at night/early in the morning a few times well after he had moved out and was not staying over. When he had asked him why he was there, Jackson had told him he had left things at our home and needed to pick them up. This would have been when my daughter was 15-18. My brother has told me on a family vacation Jackson had too much to drink and he overheard him calling my daughter princess. At the time he had assumed he was calling her this in a teasing, sibling way, like an insult, but he realizes now he was saying it as a flirtatious pet name. She was 15? Final update. I have received many messages asking for an update. The truth is, my wife and I have decided to just accept the relationship. We have made it clear that we think it is inappropriate, and we are furious and devastated at when the relationship began. However, my daughter has admitted that the reason they opened up about their relationship and engagement is because my daughter is currently 16 weeks pregnant with their first child. For the health of my daughter and grandchild, we believe the best thing to do is be supportive and make it clear to her that our door is always open to her. Unfortunately, my daughter has made it clear that she does not want any animosity or hostile feelings regarding her fiancé. We are no longer going to pursue charges against him because we do not believe that is best for the situation right now. Understandably, my two sons are not happy with what's going on. There was a physical altercation between Jackson and my oldest son. However, that has since been settled and all parties have agreed to behave amicably for the sake of my daughter and her child. Thank you everyone for your words of advice and encouragement. Now for the next story. For 12 long years, I tried to reconciling with my cheating ex. But it was all in vain. She never loved me like before. Story 2. It took 16 years. My wife and I married young. In our early 20s. We both came from troubled homes with domestic abuse, sexual abuse, you name it. First time I was left to be tended to by government officials I was 2. My childhood strengthened by convictions. Hers made her weak. I was in it for the long haul. Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, therapy/counseling, you name it. I was the person who showed up, not anyone from her family. In our 4th year of marriage she had an affair with a mutual friend. She trickled-truthed an additional affair later. She followed the adultery handbook and denied as I stood there with the evidence in my hand. Not an ounce of remorse existed. Then the evidence was presented. She broke down. Blamed me that our relationship wasn't moving forward. All my friends have kids, blah blah blah. We had agreed in conversation multiple times that kids were to start at the 5-year mark. Imagine that. Communication and agreement in full force. She followed the remorseful playbook. Gave a timeline. Confessed to everything, allegedly. We did couples therapy and individual therapy. I found out when we were starting to try and have kids. I was thumbing through Medi-Cal files and came across a receipt for an appointment in which the morning after pill was issued. It was recent at the time. I kept it and waited until I had hard evidence. Sure enough, she was pregnant. We did a blood test when our child was born. So as mentioned, we proceeded with reconciliation. 12 years later, I can conclusively say, recon is an absolute waste of time and energy. My feelings for her were never the same. I could never look at her as my lover. We have sex. It's crazy, intense, awesome and kinky. Probably due to her still carrying the guilt of her affair. Then it started. She started asking about having another child. About where we would retire together. All I can think is that. She's a fine partner. Good looking. Since recon she's been engaging, loving, and well, present in the relationship. All I can think is who cares? I wasn't good enough to be faithful to at my peak. My peak physical condition. My peak mental and emotional states. She ripped the rug out from under me 12 years ago. I thought we had a great relationship then. Now I can't help but want to do the same. I've given her the kid she wanted. The house. The life. I've made sacrifices to make all this work. I'm done. I made an appointment with a divorce attorney. No more talks of future. Dry your tears. This is the outcome you chose. You showed me there are no teammates in life. Now you can learn the same lesson. When you feel it's all going so right, here comes the rug pull. Enjoy it. I know I will enjoy my freedom from this monster. Now for the next story. I feel a growing urge to speak out, but I have to restrain myself. Story 3. Hey all. I'm back again for more shoring up. If you have been following my saga, go to my profile if you want to get caught up. I have recently found out that what I thought was an EA that my STBXH was having in the summer was actually a PA that started some time last winter. I have found tons of info over the past couple weeks, hotels, weekends that I thought he was with the boys when he was with her. I've filed and he doesn't know yet. He's still under the impression that I believe the lies he told me in January about how the affair was never physical. I'm trying to keep my mouth shut so that he can be served and vacate the premises in the same day. I don't want to have to sit through more bullshit crying, and apologizing, and blah blah like I've already done. I also don't want to give him time to start hiding assets and erasing evidence before I'm ready. If you would have asked me a month ago if I thought he would do any of this, I would have laughed and told you there was no way. But now, I don't trust him to do the right thing, obviously, so I feel like I need to hit him hard when he doesn't expect it. It will be like 10-14 days until he's served though, and I'm going insane here. Keeping this all in is giving me migraines and making my stomach hurt. I'm so disgusted that, 1, he did this during F-King pandemic. I had COVID early on, and now I have to think about the possibility that I got it from him. He never got sick, but that doesn't really mean anything, does it? 2. I have not been with another man in 20 plus years. And I now get to humiliate myself by going to the doctor to get an STD panel done. 3. He comes home and acts like nothing is going on. I can see his Lokatayan services. And I know when he's been with her nearly every day. He comes home. We talk about our days. He eats dinner with all of us. Jokes around. It's surreal to see him act like he has always acted, knowing what I know. He's been having little Saul Dyer troubles. It's worn out is all, for a few weeks now, so at least I don't have to worry about SX. But just laying next to him in the bed, knowing what I know, is Touré. I'm going back and forth between rage and a bottomless well of sadness. I look around our home and I see memories everywhere. I don't know how he could do this to me, to our kids, to our extended families. We have been together a long time and our families are very important to us both. How do I look at my Mill, whom I love as much, if not more LOL, than my own mother, and tell her why I'm divorcing her son? She just lost her husband and now this. At least my Phil isn't here to see what a disgusting, amoral, selfish, weak pig he raised. He would be heartbroken to know this. The other part of me wants to throw all his SHT on the lawn and tell everyone what he did. I want to scratch his eyes out and beat the hell out of him. I just need to come here and vent periodically so I can keep myself in check for a few more days. If you made it this far, thanks for hearing me. Now for the next story. It gets better, my friends. Story 4. January 2020, I found out my wife was cheating on me. I was the happiest guy in marriage. It was the life for me. Sure, we had our arguments in marriage. Who doesn't? I think it's healthy to work out differences and be able to grow together. Anyways, I really cared about that girl. Would have done anything for her. A few months prior, my ex had gotten a new job. I was very excited to her. It wasn't long before I noticed her behavior changing. Taste in music, clothes, desires to smoke marijuana, and drinking. This was something that really threw me off. We had agreed before marriage we were going to avoid any substances like that. It's trash. I leave for a weekend golf trip with friends. No, this is not a common occurrence. The day I plan to come home, I call her and tell her I'll be home later than evening and that I love her. She never said that she loved me back. This really was odd to me. I pushed to find out why. She says we will talk when I get home. I have a pit in my stomach, really wondering what is going on. When I get home, she tells me that I've been a terrible husband since we got married and that she had been trying to help me become a better husband, but I just wasn't capable. This really threw me for a loop. I thought things were great. We were so happy together, I thought. I looked up to my wife. I really believed that I had failed somewhere. I legit thought she was an angel and I screwed up. I just couldn't put my finger on it. She proceeded to tell me she was leaving for a few days to her mother's. I was broke. Sat in the shower for an hour or two. My world was torn. Everything I thought my life would be was now uncertain. All the energy, work, time I had put into the marriage was all for nothing? I didn't know. I shot her a text telling her how sorry I was. I just didn't know what I was actually apologizing for. She comes home a few days later and proceeds to tell me I need to leave. I did. Looking back, I can't believe I did. Terrible move. I leave to my parents for a few days. One night my dad asks me why the hell I am still at his home, out of love. And I didn't have an answer. Nothing was making sense. Nothing was being fixed while we were apart. I hopped in my car and drove back home to make this work. Heart is pounding as I open the door to find her on the couch wide-eyed. She frantically starts texting on her phone. I don't really notice that part, but I remember that. I ask her what I need to do to make this work. She tells me I have to leave or she will call the police. I'm like, what the hell? This is my home. She tells me she is having friends over for a party. A married couple from church come over who were our friends and they were shocked to see me there. Their arms are full with liquor. Way more liquor than they needed for the three of them. They knew this wasn't okay with me. The husband of the couple couldn't stand to be in the room with me and quickly left home. I was so confused. Am I really getting divorced and have no idea why? What's going on? I went to bed in my bed. Sick. She is in the living room with her friend quiet. I ask my wife the next morning to go to counseling. She says she doesn't want to. I beg her and finally get her to go. That was pointless. I ask her as we are leaving the appointment if she is dating someone else. She says no. I'm so lost and broken. Driving home I could care less if a semi-truck hit me head on. That was a dark place to be. I believe in God and I pray a lot. I felt the urge to go to my wife's relatives who I had a good relationship with. I drive up to their home and sit on their couch. They seem to know what's going on between us and they tell me how sorry they are for me and that I shouldn't take this SHT any longer. That they aren't surprised this is happening as my ex has done similar things in the past, before I knew her. I break down in tears on the couch. Finally some validation. From people who weren't supposed to be on my team. I knew it was over but still didn't know why. I moved money from the bank AC account. I grab valuables from my home since I know she is at a friend's sleeping over. She calls and cusses me out and says a plethora of things I don't remember once she sees money gone. Probably can't write them here anyways. Get ready. The next day I grab a form to get her off my joint bank account. I go to her work to get the paper signed and notarized. I'm leaving the parking lot when a relative of hers calls me and tells me that she has been cheating on me with a co-worker this entire time. I break. It felt amazing and sickening at the same time. Amazing because I could finally make sense out of it all. Sick because how? How could she do this to me? She loved me. Was supposed to. When she saw me suffering, how could she not feel bad? When I told her I wanted to die, and she told me that she didn't care and that I should get help. How could someone do this? How could she gaslight me for months? Make me question my sanity? I called her and she admitted to the affair. I said some things in a rage. All I remember is I wanted her to change her last name because she is a disgrace to my family. She still hasn't. Remember, I have had a great life. I surround myself with people I trust. I avoid drama. I don't know how to act when lied to. I loved her. To death. I didn't know the guy she had an affair with. I wanted to stop my car and confront the guy. Thank goodness I didn't. I always carry. My emotions were at an all-time high. Crushed. I don't even know if this thread makes sense at this point. It was over. Divorce took longer than I wanted. For some reason she felt entitled to a lot of things. The ring. And basically all our gifts from the wedding. She must have really done some mental gymnastics to make herself feel like a victim. Unconscionable imho. All I got from the marriage was a toaster. It's a joke in the family now. I didn't want that stuff anyways. Bunch of horcruxes lol. Also, thank goodness we didn't have any kids. I'm here to tell all of you that it gets better. Divorce is not a bad thing. I have a nice townhome now. I'm dating a lot. There are so many great girls. Wow. I have my great job still. Do much to be thankful for. I can honestly say that I don't hate my ex. She is nothing to me. Like a long-lost memory. I don't even remember the color of her eyes or her phone number. Couldn't care less what happens with her as I wouldn't know how to find out if I wanted to. I've cut off contact with everyone in her family. And there were some great people there. I think they all knew what was going on all along. Just glad one of them came clean to me. Once again. Hang in there. Know your worth. I believe that I have good things coming. I'll look back one day and be so glad my life worked out the way it did. It's all a blur now. And I apologize for the wordy post. I was surprised I couldn't remember a whole lot more. That's a good thing though, right?